Have you ever worked ridiculously hard on something only to realize you were making little to no progress no matter how hard you worked at doing the thing? That was me last year and part of this year in my backyard fighting a flooding problem I couldn't seem to solve no matter how much work I put in. So today I want to share my 4 lessons my flooded backyard taught me about blind spots, burnout, and even leadership, and why throwing more effort at solving a problem or achieving the thing is not always the answer. So, y'all know I always got a story on Candid Conversations podcast. So, last year, I decided to transform part of my backyard into what I now call my pause and praise space. And here's the thing, y'all, while I could have hired somebody to do it, I don't know. I kind of felt well, first, I fell down this rabbit hole of the YouTube streets and do it yourself projects. And I said to myself, I just want to be able to do this for myself. Anywho, in that particular area, we had an above ground pool removed. And so I wanted to turn that giant circle where the pool once stood into a peaceful little oasis where I could meditate, practice yoga, sip my tea or coffee, read, pray, take deep breaths when life be lifing, okay? And what nobody tells you when you remove an above ground pool is that the ground underneath is still a whole mess, uneven, sunken in certain parts, completely off balance. So I did what a lot of people do when something isn't working. You just think you throw more effort at fixing the thing. And so what my immediate thought was, oh, buy some bags of dirt, particularly the dirt that you use to fill in kind of holes and stuff like that. I must have bought about, I don't know, y'all, at least 50 bags of dirt to level that space out. But here's the thing. Every single time it rained, the space flooded. And the crazy part is I had already started building around it. I had bought some white marble landscape rocks. I planted parts of my tea garden filled with lavender, chamomile, basil, rosemary, all the things. I had this beautiful vision in my head, and I kept thinking that all I needed to do was to fill that part of the backyard with dirt, but the foundation underneath still wasn't right. And so one day, though, my cousin came over and we were walking through the backyard because he gardens too. So we was trading war stories and sharing visions and all the things. And he took one look at the space and he said, "Cuz, you need a tamper." I said, who? A tamper. Now, if you're like me and you have no clue what a tamper is, it's basically this heavy tool that you use to press and compact the dirt so the ground underneath becomes solid and stable instead of soft and uneven and constantly shifting when rain, wind, or snow comes about. So I went down to the Home Depot streets, I rented one, and y'all listen, the difference was immediate. I want to say maybe a month or so later, we had a big rainstorm. Guess what? No flooding. And I'm not going to even lie, y'all. As it rained from the night before to the next day. I kept peeking out my bedroom window, looking at that space in amazement because I couldn't believe it actually worked. First of all, I was so proud of myself, y'all. But here's when the bigger lesson hit me. Sometimes the issue isn't that you're not working hard enough. Sometimes you're just using the wrong tool. And sometimes you're just too close to the problem to see it clearly. Shout out to my cousin Dwight for seeing that for me. And that's why I always tell my leaders as well, you need people around you who can help you see your blind spots. And if you are no stranger to the Candid Conversations podcast, you know I love to say own your BS. Your BS is your blind spots and belief systems. We all have them. Because when you've been wrestling with a problem for a long time, frustration can narrow your thinking, and you're like me, you keep adding more effort or more dirt more overthinking, more pushing, when what you really need is a shift in perspective, a shift in strategy, or even just to simply ask for help so someone can see what you can't see. And then another lesson I learned too is that a beautiful vision means nothing if the foundation underneath can't hold it. So I had did all the things prettying up the space. I put pretty raised beds there, a sage green, and then I have my pretty little flowers and all the things. And that vision applies to leadership. You can dysfunction all day long, but eventually the flooding shows up. And when we think about decorating dysfunction in the workplace, it's like you want to have the team event, you want to give away the yearly awards, but the reality is there's dysfunction underneath. This also applies to our relationships, to our business, even us as individuals. And maybe that's just like a real question that we have to ask ourselves. Are you trying to force progress by adding more effort or prettying something up that actually simply needs a stronger foundation? You cannot outwork a faulty foundation. Even when you think about personal or even your intimate relationships, you could smile and profile for the gram all day long. But once you move past that moment in time where you capture a picture and y'all looking good in the picture, you know daggone well that you're going back to that faulty foundation. And so for the longest time, I thought more effort would fix an issue. Work hard, people will notice you. But again, in leadership, wellness, relationships, even confidence work the same way. If the foundation underneath you is shaky, eventually no amount of effort or hustle can hold it together. Something else that we carry often in leadership is I am resourceful. That's what makes me a good manager. That's what makes me a good leader. Listen, being resourceful is powerful, but that's transformational. I was resourceful enough to keep trying and going to the YouTube streets, but everything changed when I became open to another perspective. Sometimes your growth doesn't come from working harder. It comes from being willing to listen to someone who can't see what you can't. Be open to remaining teachable. And here's the final thing that I want to leave you with. Every time it would rain, the space would flood, right? And I would always say, like, it keeps raining and this space is flooding. And I would look at the rain as if the rain was the problem. But here's the thing, the rain didn't create the problem, the rain exposed it. The flooding was already possible long before the rainstorm showed up. And we could think about that in terms of our own lives. When we are facing pressure, conflict, stress, they all have a way of revealing the weak spots that we ignored, avoided, or tried to cover up. And so I think at times, the best question that you can ask yourself is, what is this moment trying to teach me? What might I be missing in this moment? How might this be happening for me, not to me? That's it for today, y'all. Talk soon.